press conference dealing with the Quitman 10+2, and today we're going to speak on voter suppression. So we're going to go in this order in the people who will present to you today. So we're going to begin with Senator Emanuel Jones, who is the chairman of our illustrious Georgia Legislative Black Caucus. He will be followed by the Reverend Dr. Joseph Lowery, who will be speaking on behalf of the People's Agenda. Then we will be followed by Representative Tyrone Brooks, who is a state representative here in the Atlanta area, followed by Dr. Nancy Denard, President of the Board of Education for Brooks County, followed by Mr. Kevin Miles, who is the Southeastern Regional Director for the NAACP, and it will end with Reverend Samuel Marcello, who is the State President for SCLC, and we will proceed in that order. Mr. Chairman, the microphone is yours.
Thank you, and to all of the Quitman 10, let me just tell you that we are here for one reason, and that's one reason only. We're here to advocate on your behalf. We're here even to agitate on your behalf, and there's two things that we are calling on this governor to do, and that is to lift the suspension on the Quitman 10, as well as work with the district attorney so that these charges that have been filed can be dropped. This press conference is about fairness. This press conference is about justice. And as the members of the Legislative Black Caucus, we will not rest until the Quitman 10, plus there's been two others that have been recently arrested, find justice, and these charges that have been filed are completely dropped. That's our purpose, that's our mission, and we will not rest until that happens. At this time, I want to invite Dr. Lowery to come up and share a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let's give him a hand, y'all.
It's a privilege for me to be here on behalf of the Quitman 10. I guess it's, I spoke yesterday at Emory University at the Cannon Chapel, where they had an observance in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. And I was delighted to be there with those students. And I said to them that the best thing students should do, as I see it, in terms of honoring Dr. King, is to put their hearts and minds and soul to those issues that Dr. King gave his life for.
Amen.
I'm glad to have the programs and glad to have the observances. Nothing wrong with that, but ceremony is a good thing, but it ends with the benediction. And therefore, we have to wrap ourselves around what I call sacrament instead of ceremony.
All right, Doctor.
Ceremonies end with the benediction. Sacraments begin with the benediction.
Amen.
We're here on a sacramental purpose.
Yes, sir.
What's happened to the Quitman 10 is more common to 1920 than 2012.
That's right. That's right.
When will it ever end? How long? How long? You know, why must we suffer this persecution? These people, in the first place, have not been convicted of anything.
That's right.
Amen.
And I understood that our system of justice rings out with innocence until proven guilty.
All right.
Where they operate, all you have to do is be accused by some white folk.
That's right.
And you're guilty till you prove it innocent.
All right.
That's not what the American system of justice is about. You're innocent until they prove you guilty. These people have not been convicted of any crime. The only crime they've had was being black. And pursuing the goals of justice and democracy. They sought office and they were elected. If they had been defeated, we never heard of the Quitman.
All right.
If you had got elected, nobody would have ever heard of you. But you got elected.
All right.
And that's significant. That's what, isn't that what The American dream is all about
Yes.
that every citizen has a right to serve in public office.
Yes.
That every citizen has a right to vote
Yes.
and to elect and be elected. And that's why we're here. These people, the governor has assumed because they're black and are accused by whites that they're guilty. And that's wrong. That's just wrong. And that's 1920. That's not 2012. And so we've come here because, and I'm glad to see the media here because I don't know why the media is keeping this so quiet.
All right.
Well, if the Quitman 10 had killed 4 or 5 white folk in Brooks County, it would have been in every paper,
All right.
on every television station. But they have been robbed of their democratic rights. And we've been quiet about it. And so we come today to challenge the media in this metropolitan area. Atlanta is supposed to be a bright spot in the South. Our governor has whose name is Deal, is off on a crooked deal. It's a bad deal to suspend people from office who haven't been convicted. They haven't been convicted of anything. And so we come today to say, we're with you, Quitman 10, that when you are, as long as you are suspended from your office, all of the offices of everybody in here is in jeopardy.
That's right.
Calvin Smiley is the head of the Black Legislative Caucus, is that right? Which you used to be. They kick you out. They suspend you. The term is expired, but Calvin is one of the seniors of black elected officials in this country. And his office is not safe. That's right. As long as they can suspend the Quitman 10, they can suspend Calvin Smiley. And you needn't be comfortable, Calvin. as long as the Quitman 10 is in jeopardy. So we're here today to say we're with you. We're alarmed. We're disturbed. We will not rest until these people have been freed to pursue the job for which the people of their community elected. That's what makes democracy work. They couldn't kill the Voting Rights Act, so they're killing the results of our voting rights.
All right.
So what good does it do to have voting rights if they can suspend you? You don't have to have any evidence. You don't have to prove anything. Just suspend you. So God bless you. We've come to be with you and let you know we're with you. And all these people who come from every corner of the state say to the Quitman 10, we ain't gonna quit. We ain't gonna back in office again.
While Representative Brooks is coming up, let me just kind of echo what Dr. Lowery said. Your caucus, your Georgia Legislative Black Caucus stands firmly behind the Quitman 10. We will be with you in February. The president of GABEO is hosting a conference. We will be there marching right alongside of you, standing beside you, and if we have to have a sit-in, we'll be there as well. Amen. Representative Tyrone Brooks.
Thank you, Chairman Jones and Representative Hagel. Thank you for conceiving the idea to have a news conference today. Representative Smyra and I were just talking. Representative Smyra is a past president of GABEO, and he's also a national leader in the National Democratic Party and the immediate past president of National Black Caucus State Legislators. He and I have been talking this past weekend about taking the Quitman 10 case to the U.S. Department of Justice. So we will be in touch with the U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder this week. I want to say to all of you who are here, Black Caucus members, my Vice President of GABEO, Elaine Lucas from Macon, City Councilwoman, the better half of David Lucas that you all have known for many years. Thank you for coming over today. The only other thing I want to add to what Dr. Lowery just said is, where do we go from here? As Representative Hagler asked us upstairs, we go to Quitman the last weekend of February, 24th, 25, 26. Dr. Lowery will be our keynote speaker on Saturday following the luncheon. Senator Jones will be there to speak and represent the Black Caucus. We're trying to get other national leaders to join Dr. Lowery on that weekend. We will march on the Brooks County Courthouse that Saturday following the luncheon. Reverend Marstella, Joe Beasley from Rainbow Push, Janice Mathis, all of our partners who have been working on this for the last 2 years almost. We will march on the courthouse and we will say, District Attorney, drop the charges. Governor Deal, lift the suspension. And then we will ask the Brooks County citizens, what do you want to do now? And we will support you, Brooks County citizens, in terms of whatever you want to do going forward. We have to make a statement in Brooks County because this is symptomatic of what's happening across America.
Amen.
This is just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
Voter suppression, voter intimidation, voter IDs, voter verification, cutting early voting, anything they can do to tamper down the vote leading into the 2012 elections, that's what they're doing across this country. So I just want to thank the Black Caucus for joining us in this fight. David Lucas brought it to us first. Reverend Floyd Rose from Valdosta, the president of SCLC, brought it to us. And then Senator Robert Brown bugged me all last year. He said, you just got to get involved in this, Tyrone. So Senator Brown and many of you went down to Quitman. And we worked on this all last year. And now they've been indicted, they've been suspended. And so we are fully committed to this movement. This is something that Dr. Lowery taught us to do. We're going to continue to do your work. This is a part of your legacy, Dr. Lowery. And we just can't thank you enough for being here. If y'all want to hear Dr. Lowery again tomorrow, join us at 12 noon at the People's Agenda at 328 Auburn Avenue at SCLC Women Headquarters. Thank you very much, Senator Jones.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Kevin Miles, and I am here as the Regional Director for the NAACP, and I just want to say to all of the members of Quitman 10+2, we stand with you, we stand beside you. We take the issue of voter suppression and voter intimidation very seriously, and also I want to say something not only towards the Quitman 10+2, but also to the residents of Quitman, because in the process of investigating the claims of voter irregularities, parts of the black neighborhoods were canvassed, where, you know, law enforcement went to people's houses and went to people's jobs and asked them, are you registered to vote, and who registered you, and how did you get registered? This is like something out of a movie, and it's a movie that we've seen before. So we want to be very clear about the fact that while we stand with the Quitman 10+2, we also stand with those residents who also were intimidated even in their homes and on their places of employment. And we also want to say to the people in Madison, Florida, the people in Tallahassee, we know that this is taking place all over.
Yes.
And we are going to make every effort we can to uncover every story, to make sure that we know every place that this has happened, so that as we make sure that we make what happened in Quitman right in Quitman, we want to root this problem out in all these other places elsewhere, because we've got to bring this into the light.
Yes, sir.
You know, the only way that this thing can continue to go on with these issues of voter suppression and voter intimidation is if we don't call them out. And so far, you know what, we haven't had enough partners in the media, we haven't had enough partners in the public to make sure that this story got out there. But this is as compelling as any civil rights issues that you will find today. There is nothing more basic and more fundamental to our rights as an American as our ability to go to the polls and elect the representatives of our choosing. And when that right is abridged, we owe it, it's our duty as Americans first to stand up and say something. But certainly as the civil rights community, there is no bigger fight on the horizon for us right now than making sure that these folks over here from Quitman, Georgia, from Madison, Florida, from Tallahassee, from all of these little small towns where law enforcement is stepping in, removing people from office, going to their houses and places of employment and making people afraid to go out and exercise their rights. We have a duty to stand with them. That is a part of our legacy, and we will be there with you until the end. Peace and power.
It is important that we hear directly from the member of the Quitman 10, the president of the school board down in Brooks County. I'm going to ask Dr. Denard if she will come forward, please.
Amen. Good morning, Dr.
Thank you. Let me tell you a little about the Quitman 10+2, how we generated. There was a concern in our community that we wanted better, not only for our citizens, but for our students. So we decided that we needed better. We needed better representation. So we got together a group of community citizens, and we decided that some wanted to run for different positions. It wasn't just school board. It's come down to school board now, but it started off as county commissioner. It started off as our congressional leader. We campaigned for anybody that was running the ticket that we thought aligned with our causes. And at that point, we campaigned. We were successful in the primary. It went on to the general election. Two of the losing people for the school board decided that they allowed them to switch positions. They switched positions, and we beat them again in the general election in November. And then it was in December the 21st. We got knocks on our doors, and the state trooper, the GBI, the Secretary of State, the local sheriff, the police department, almost every law enforcement agency in the state of Georgia you could think about came knocking on our doors, and they arrested 10 of us. They accused us with voter fraud. Voter fraud. That was in December of 2010. It wasn't until November of 2011 that this even reached any type of legal system. We were indicted. And then they added 2 more. That's how we get the Quitman 10+2. 2 more were also indicted at that time. But since then, the board members have been seated. We had a very successful year on the school board. Our county commissioner has done well. And it all started from a desire for change. We got together, we made change, and then our governor came along last month, and he changed that. With a stroke of a pen, he went back, and everything that we put in place, that we worked hard, and the citizens, their voice and their vote, it was like it was disregarded. It was changed. We were removed from the school board. So right now we have no representation on our school board. We voted not once but twice, but we're still not being represented in our school board, and we're concerned with that. We have done nothing wrong, but excited people that you can vote, educated them on ways to vote, alternatives that we didn't devise this plan. It's in our Constitution. They have a God-given right to vote of their choice, and that's what they did. And so we are very grateful for the support that we're getting from the state. As again, we're not guilty, we're fighting this, and we want you to come to Quitman. Join us on the 24th of February.
Dr. You got to point out the fact that when you were in office, it was a majority black board. Now you've been suspended, it's a majority white board.
Yes, I was not on the ballot in 2010. I was on a special election in 2009. And for years, it's always been a majority white school board. Because of the results of the 2010 election, it's for the first time we had a majority black school board that would govern the majority black school system. And that was history being made in Brooks County. And I was elected president of the school board. And the stroke of the pen of the governor again has changed that. He was reversed it. Now we have a majority white school board as of now because of what the governor did for the suspensions.
We have a couple more speakers, and then we're going to open it up to questions. Reverend Marcella, President of SCLC.
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Reverend Samuel Marcella, the state president for Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And our local president in Valdosta, Reverend Floyd Rose, has helped to champion the Quitman 10 and bring it to our attention. He worked for months on it, calling people and worrying people about it, and finally we were able to go down and begin to bring notice to it. I just need to ask for a moment of silence.
Yes,
if you would. The reason I ask for that moment of silence is for the death of our Constitution. It died when we denied our basic right to vote. And our right to vote came in '65 in the Voting Rights Act with the work that Dr. King and Dr. Lowery did in the Voting Rights Act to get it passed. And everything else has been done to circumvent the Voting Rights Act since its passing, because it changed segregation to integration and gave all of us opportunity, women, poor whites, blacks, and nobody ever given it credit for what it really did in transforming America. Now the Constitution is dying because we're allowing a few officials who have an ideology that says we have to be right, and we don't want any black folks to represent us, and if we do, they have to parrot what we want them to say. And the Quitman 10 came up and said, we're going to represent our community with our issues, and we're going to put our children first on the Board of Education, the Commission, and we're going to put our people first. And that's a problem all across America, whether you want to admit it or not. The Quitman 10 is endemic of what's happened across Jackson, Mississippi, when a man can be run over just for going to Walmart. Union City, where Police said the man fighting with him, but somehow he got shot in the back twice. But all black men, all black people, our lives have been devalued. Our vote has said, well, when you vote and win and register, folks, it's got to be fraud. It can't be fair. Those are black folks. They had to cheat. And that's the endemic. And we go to court, we already assume guilty before we even get to trial. I'm going to leave here and go to the Supreme Court. We've been working 4 years to try to get a new trial for a young man from Bullock County who they didn't have any evidence. There was no forensic evidence, no witnesses, no weapon, but they gave him life plus 20. We worked 4 years till we got him a new trial today. So at 1 o'clock, I'll be at the Supreme Court with Tommy Lee Jones trying to get, working on his trial at the Supreme Court. What I'm trying to say is, for black folks, it is a danger signal. This has happened before. When they took the right of black folks to vote in 1801. It's happened before, it's not new. So what we're doing is we have to raise the standard now. There's no time to be divided. There's no time to back up or think about your position because your position is in danger because of what's happening in Quitman 10. Yes. This happened before in America to black people. It's not new. That's all I want to say. Thank you so much for your time.
Let's put all of this in perspective. We have an election coming up next year, 2012, national election. This year, 2012, a national election. Yes, sir. And it's kind of ironic, as Dr. Denard pointed out, that from 2 years ago, the state of Georgia has seen fit to bring these charges at a time when we are trying to get everyone out there to register to vote, when we are out there solidly behind getting our president re-elected, and we are fighting, not just the members of the Legislative Black Caucus, but the Justice Department is fighting these efforts across this country to suppress our vote and to validate our vote with some erroneous ID. Yes. Put all this in perspective. As was mentioned by my good friend, Representative Brooks, this is just the tip of the iceberg. If we don't stand up now, all of us will fall. Yes, sir. Dr. Lowery, thank you so much for making it quite clear to us what's at stake. Not just the Quitman 10 plus 2, but all of us that stand here today are at stake. Yes, sir. Because if they can do it to Brooks County, Georgia, they can certainly do it to Atlanta, Georgia as well. Amen. Amen. And at this time, if
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, we have the regional director of the Rainbow Coalition Representative Jesse Jackson, Joe Beasley. Amen. If you don't mind.
Got to invite my good friend.
Amen. I just simply ditto what's
Wet in
already
the
been
rain,
said.
he's here.
Nothing's been said, and everything is absolutely correct. You know, it's a national conspiracy deal, and all the governors got together. It was a scheme. Yeah. It's not going to work. Thank you.
I don't know if you want to come back up here and field a few questions or not.
Stand with the chairman, Mr. President.
Anyone that has any questions for us today? If not, thank you for being here and thank you for being part of this press conference. This concludes.
Good question.
Questions?
I'm going to ask you, did the attorney that's trying this case, did he go on Fox News and like say everybody was guilty?
Basically, because I didn't point this out, one of our school board members is a senior assistant district attorney, so their office recused himself from prosecuting, so they handed it over to a special prosecutor, and he has gone on Fox News saying it's guilty and so on.
Does that just make him not eligible to try the case since he's already come to a conclusion?
It should.
Absolutely.
Who represented the Quitman 10?
Our attorney? We have C.B. King out of Albany, Georgia, and Roy Copeland out of Valdosta, Georgia.
Is there an appeal? Have they filed an appeal?
They have not even been arraigned
They
yet.
haven't been tried, have
No.
They haven't been arraigned, Doc.
You're
We haven't
black,
arraigned.
you're black. You're black, get back.
They have not even been arraigned. They've been indicted, they've been suspended, but never an arraignment before the bar. Been no trial.
So how is that
Time
legal?
for one more question. Let me just go here, please,
Sure.
and then we gotta wrap this up.
This has really caused the spirit of those of us in the metro area to really want to get involved in ways that some of us have not been involved before, especially young people. So is there a message you can give to young people about, you know, we used to say back in the civil rights days, and we can now say those days are here, and communicate to the young people so that we can rally to this cause of the Quitman 10+2?
Well, we're telling our kids in our community that if we don't speak up now, we will be back in the 60s. This is your time when you, like Dr. Lowery said about you, you're celebrating Dr. King's accomplishments. You can make your own now. Get involved. Get involved. Not only with the Quitman 10, but in your own community. And that's how some of this started. We targeted the 18 to 26-year-olds. You know, we're former educators within the system, and they came back and they rallied, and that was the increase in the voter registration, was that group that had been ignored for so long. And so our message is go out and get involved.
And what are you specifically charged with? I know it's fraud, but what specifically?
Illegal possession of absentee ballots and assisting someone with voting.
Illegal possession of absentee ballot. And what's the other one?
Assisting another one voting.
Assisting.
Electoral voting, yes.
All you have to do is be black.
Yeah.
White folks do that all the time.
Thank you. This concludes our press conference. Thank you.